Okay, we're there. It's time. As I mentioned, this is the employer-sponsored Child Care Fund informational webinar. We're so happy that you all took time to join us here today to learn more about this opportunity and hopefully learn how it can work for your organization. If we can go on to the next slide, we'll do a little bit of housekeeping and then we will get into the meat of the content today. So to keep things flowing well without getting any wild interruptions, we're going to have all participants muted today for the call. However, the chat group and chat window is functional and open. As you come along with the webinar today, if you have any questions, we would encourage you to post them into the chat window. I have several colleagues on the call who will be helping address your questions there in the chat. In addition to that, we'll be using your questions to add on to our additional FAQs. So anything that you asked today is probably a question someone else has, and we'll be happy to add those to the FAQs as we move forward with this initiative. With that, I'm going to pass it over to the Director of the Office of Early Childhood and Out-of-School Learning here for Indiana, Courtney Penn, to kick us off with some content. Morning, Courtney.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Stephen, for getting us going this morning. I'm super excited to be before you and share some information about this initiative. I will say that, and I'll let her introduce herself fully when she jumps on. I am co-presenting today with my colleague, Kim Hodge. She and I are co-leading this initiative and super excited, like I said, to share this information with you today. As Stephen said, my name is Courtney, really? I got a new last name. My name is Courtney Penn. I'm the Director of the Office of Early Childhood and Out-of-School Learning. I am super excited for just the work ahead of us, and then also thinking about how this opportunity will just engage the industry of early care and education and the business sector like never before, which really makes my heart happy, and I hope yours as well. And so I won't belabor it anymore, and we'll get into the teeth of the content here in just a second. But I do want to call in some very strategic partners in this workspace with us. So we have Jason here from Indiana Chamber, who him and his team were really boots on the ground, supportive of this initiative from day one, helping us be very collaborative, thoughtful, some thoughts around what would make the most sense to the business industry, and has really just been a really great support to this initiative with their subject matter expertise that they bring to the table and so much more. So I will pause and give Jason the opportunity to mute himself and have a time to speak as well.
Thank you, Courtney, and good morning, everyone. It's great to see such a large group of employers and other partners that are stepping up to signal their interest in this effort. I don't think I need to tell you that childcare has emerged as kind of one of the new infrastructure issues of our time. Increasingly, childcare and housing are the same conversations with roads, bridges, and broadband. And we hear from our members consistently that childcare remains one of their absolute top external workforce barriers. So we recognize this has implications on a number of fronts, from the education and preparation of our young people to giving working parents an opportunity to be in the workforce. And of course, it has implications for our economic development aspirations as a state as well. So we've been really leaning in hard on this issue the past few years from the policy side. And we're happy to have the opportunity to partner on this grant opportunity to really try and leverage public funds to drive additional private sector investment and create opportunities where opportunities are often few and far between across the state of Indiana. And really, we're in good company with this, because these are challenges that pretty much every state in the union is grappling with right now. And we think that Indiana's got some momentum and some wind at our back. And we think that this employer-sponsored child care fund is really a step in the right direction. And we hope to really see some real impact coming out of this first round of grant funds. So I know we got a lot of content to get to, so I won't belabor it anymore, other than just say we appreciate the opportunity to partner, appreciate the interest on the part of the private sector, and certainly appreciate all the community partners and intermediary type organizations. They're going to help kind of connect the dots and make this effort a success. So thank you to Courtney and her team. And I'll kick it back to you, Courtney.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jason. I appreciate all your efforts and your time with us this morning as well. And also, I want to call in the Indiana Manufacturers Association. So they have been assisting us with connecting with the folks who they support in this in the manufacturing business space, to let them be informed about this initiative, and also giving us the opportunity to share with that group and share the information that we have. It has been very supportive as well. So I will pause here and give Sam from the Indiana Manufacturers Association the ability to unmute himself and say a few words as well.
Great. Thank you very much, Courtney, for the opportunity to address the group, and thank you all for joining here today. My name is Sam Sharon. I serve as a Director of Governmental Affairs for the Manufacturers Association. We have a little bit of a narrower scope than the Chamber does, being industry specific. But with that being said, we do have recent estimates that show that there are over 40,000 perpetually open positions in the manufacturing industry alone. And with that being the case, we have had to shift our focus to some more quote unquote non-traditional workforce development solutions, things that Jason had already mentioned that serve as big barriers to employment, such as affordable housing and transportation options, and of course, affordable childcare. And so with that being the case, I won't be overly repetitive with Jason already mentioning many of the big ways that affordable childcare will benefit the state. We are proud, of course, to partner with the Chamber and with Courtney and Kim's team at FSSA on this great program, and we look forward to continuing the work of connecting Indiana's manufacturing companies with these valuable resources. So again, thank you for the opportunity to be partners here today and for joining the webinar, and I hope everybody finds the webinar and the grant program to be useful, and I hope you all have a great day. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Again, thank you both for your time and your efforts here. And we will move on in the presentation. Maybe, there we go. Yeah. Sorry, I feel like I have a slight delay in my moving of the slides, so I apologize if you all are seeing a delay as well. So again, as Jason and Sam both mentioned, right, there are pieces of this that are in this early care and education space that are having some challenges as we think about the role that childcare plays in not only within our state, but across the country. I think during the pandemic, we were really able to see just how critical than ever before this early care and education work really is for folks to be able to go to work, show up and be present, to not only just be able to physically go to work, but mentally, emotionally be able to be there at work as their whole, showing up as their whole selves, with the ability to know that their child is in a safe, thriving environment in childcare. And so with that, we know that not only do childcare providers bring a safe environment, but we are poised more than ever before to really provide robust, strategic supports for not only cognitive, but that social emotional pieces of the child's development that will go along with them through the journey of their education pathway, right? And so setting the tone here is vital. And so being able to get as many children as possible the opportunity to thrive and be successful is really the challenge, but it's also a great goal to have and a great goal to want to achieve, right? And knowing and understanding that under that umbrella comes the other opportunity of thinking about what does the economic mobility of that look like, not only for our economic development of today, but as we are gearing up and supporting the pathway for the journey down the road, as these children will one day be part of our workforce as well. And so how are we being poised to be supportive of not only the family and the child, but the holistic economic component of not only within our state, but even as Jason and Sam both mentioned, this is a national trend that we're seeing across the board. And so honored that Indiana has leaned into that and really seen the need and is being supportive in this space of really, and as we think about those barriers that our families here in our state have with access to care, that whether they're in a region that has very little or no high quality care and early care and education, we are hopeful that this opportunity helps to continue to close that gap and help build the bridge of additional access and affordability, and supporting those affordability challenges that make it difficult for families to navigate through as they are trying to position themselves in different capacities of the workforce. And we want them to remain in the workforce. And so how are we able to support that? Many times when I've speak publicly, or as I've teed up this opportunity and given some high level information about it, I will often share that I'm not only a advocate for this, but I'm also a consumer of this need, as I'm able to come and work my full day in my position because my son goes to an aftercare program that is wonderfully positioned to take care of him and give him what he needs, while I'm yet fulfilling the duties of this role as I attempt to support and serve the state of Indiana. So it's a real issue, and it's a real thing that I'm happy to be at one of the people at the seat at the helm of getting us some solutions. So again, we talk about the challenge, and now we'll lean ourselves into what we effectively call the opportunity, right? So with every challenge, there is an opportunity to do better and to do greater works and greater things. So as we think about this opportunity, and we thought about what this could possibly look like in our state, just really thinking about the fact that, yes, this office has a great opportunity to be supportive of childcare providers and families, but also where are there opportunities to lean into the workforce, to the actual employers themselves, to be able to leverage the position that they have, working directly with their employees each and every single day, knowing their unique and strategic needs, again, even within not only their business, but also within their actual local community, and how that could be super impactful. And we've seen multiple economic studies that have shown that there are many successes that come out of when employers in the early care and education field come together in collaborative ways to think about how we can uniquely think out of the box to work together to be responsive to the needs of the children and families in our state. And so when we think about that, we think about the recruitment and the retention components that employers are able to have to support their employees through offering this ability to assist with childcare. Also increase productivity, again, because when folks can show up as their whole selves at work and be very mentally present in that space, knowing that their children are being well taken care of, productivity goes up. Studies have also showed that there's growth in workforce diversity. So able to see all different types of diverse applicants, folks and people engaging in that particular business realm based on the ability to have this support. And then also thinking about improved employee relations and satisfaction, right? So offering a benefit to your employees that brings in a level of satisfaction and makes them feel seen and heard is always going to be a great win. And then that enhanced corporate reputation, right? So then again, to me, this kind of leans itself back to, again, not only what can be impactful from a business standpoint, boots on the ground from what you can see around you from your employees and those in that capacity, but also thinking about the footprint that you have on your local and also the state economic development and support with opportunities such as this. So I want to give a little more content about what this grant opportunity truly is. And so this grant opportunity was called in on Governor Holcomb's 2023 Next Level Agenda as a $25 million grant opportunity to be funded out of this office, the Office of Early Childhood and Out of School Learning, to be able to provide funding for this specific initiative to lean into the expertise of employers, and as you all navigate through ways that you can support the needs of your employees, and also help us as we are trying to grow and lean into more access, abilities, and affordable offerings for families across our state. And this, again, has been done in great partnership with the Indiana Chamber of Commerce and Indiana Manufacturers Association, with the understanding, right, that early care and education has typically been in that view and in that lane, and leveraging their subject matter expertise and their ability to support this work is pivotal in the way to be able to now introduce, if you will, an opportunity like this and introduce a new level of engagement between the two industries that we hope will just begin to build upon itself and continue to be a strong collaboration as we move forward in this space. We are leveraging COVID relief dollars for this $25 million grant, which is a great stride and a great thing that the Office of Early Childhood, the Office of Health and Human Services, which is where our federal dollar fundings come from, is an advocate and super supportive of this particular initiative and applauded us as a state for being very thought forward and innovative in this way to even think about offering an opportunity like that. And again, as we think about this opportunity and how we have ways to help you all as employers and as business owners be able to help with the community needs and growing childcare needs in your area and increasing the presence of employer sponsored care and the ability to be able to have their needs be met. As we know, that hierarchy of needs, right, that people need to have those basic needs met in order to continue to thrive on that trajectory of success. And so building these foundations of trust, building these foundations of having what they need to show up and be present at work is a huge win. And also funding can be used to expand or implement a range of different benefits. And we'll go a little deeper into that as we go into the next few slides about the requirements, funding eligibility opportunities and all those things. We'll dig a little deeper, but I do want to call in the fact that we also have a very robust web page that has all this information that we're sharing today. You have access to multiple pieces of resources that you can pull down and read through and take your time, and also ways to engage with our office, ask questions, etc. Again, we'll share some of that later, but did want to call in the fact that we do have a website dedicated to this grant opportunity, just so that it's easily to have the consumed resources and also a robust FAQ. So for those questions that we already have had and question, as was Stephen mentioned earlier, we will continue to add to that based on some of the feedback and or questions that we will get today from today's session. So I'll start off here by talking about the eligibility criteria. So you will see here that we are focusing these applications on businesses or corporations that are employing 20 or more Indiana-based employees. And then we'll also have a group of employers with a total of 20 more Indiana-based employees, or community-based not-for-profit organizations such as chambers, United Ways, coalitions, applying on behalf of local Indiana-based employers. And really the heart behind and the strategicness behind why we did that is because we know that there are some businesses that will benefit from the opportunity that may have 20 or may have less than 20 employees. From a sustainability standpoint, it made the most sense to make that connection where those businesses come together either under a coalition, a city, a foundation, to be better suited and better supported, so that that application and that sustainability can happen as in a more of a village approach, with the goal of this not just being a one-time opportunity, one-time thing, but something that businesses want to continue to invest in once you're able to see the true benefits that come from this opportunity. I do want to note that these funds are for employers of businesses that outside of childcare, as we do know that in our state, we have childcare providers who are also business owners, but this opportunity is specifically for those who do business outside of the childcare frame. But again, it's not for childcare providers, operators, but they are not eligible for this grant opportunity, but there are ways that they will benefit from the grant opportunity, given how an employer, how you all as a business deem to either want to collaborate with someone locally in your community who is already doing this work, and there's other ways. I don't want to get ahead of myself with the allowable expenses, but there are ways that, again, that community can still thrive and be supported and benefit from this opportunity in more than just one way. So when we think about the grant requirements, I do want to give a quick overview of what that is. Again, more of the grant requirements are called in on our website, where you can take a look at those at your leisure and do a deeper dive. But at a very high level, we want to ensure that the business that is applying or the entity that is applying is in good standing with Indiana's Secretary of State office. Also, employers and nonprofit organizations may only apply once, even if the lead applicant cannot be represented on multiple applications. So what does that look like in real life? Great question. So what we envision that looking like in real life is, say, for example, I am a local coalition or I am a foundation and I have multiple small businesses that I have written into my application. Those small businesses under that umbrella cannot then write in for their own grant opportunity. And again, two main reasons behind that is we don't want to duplicate services and we don't want to duplicate funding distribution when everything is supposed to be aligned, going to the same initiative and for the same growth or expectations. And the thought is that that's will also call folks in to be very cognizant about making sure that you all are leaning into who you're putting in your application and making sure that the lines of communication are open with those who are being identified as a possible support for that work, because that will be a critical piece of what we will be reviewing when we go to review applications. And so those pieces will be very important because, again, we don't want to duplicate services and we don't want to dual fund an initiative when we know that there's so much need across the state. So I do wanted to call that one specifically in and add a little more clarity there, and hopefully that helps make a little more sense about why we specifically call that in that way. Again, if grantees will be awarded, they will be required to submit a finalized implementation plan to the state. That plan then gets approved, and then you are able to get up to 30% of the total grant dollar request at the time of the receipt of that. And then the rest will be approved and reimbursed up along the path. And so we definitely want to make sure that that is something that is very clear, that we are able to give 30% upfront, and then the rest would be reimbursed as you are spending out and doing different components of this grant initiative. I mean, some of that has to do with both federal and state requirements around these dollars that we are leveraging. So I do, again, definitely want to call that in as folks are considering applying, and that you all are very distinctly aware upfront that that is a requirement. Also, applicants who receive awards must agree to implement the project plans within the contract period. So we're giving 12 months of receiving the funds to implement this initiative. Also contributing a minimum share. So that will come out in the next phase. Should an applicant move forward, we will make those distinctions there based upon our internal criterion, but do want to call out that there will be a contribution of a minimum share to the total project cost that will be asked of awardees, and then sustain the program after the grant period. So again, we really want to see a very clear, concise, robust sustainability plan, because our hope is that this will just be the pivotal point where that will just continue to make businesses want to continue in this vein and continue to offer these benefits to employees so that they can continue to have that. Our hope is that this will not just be a one-time thing that businesses do. So we want to see what's the plan, like what have you, and if you've got something that you're already doing to support employees, we want to hear that and how it's going to be sustained along the way, years after these funds are already gone and out the door. And then complete required reporting to show how funds are being spent. So again, from a federal and state landscape, we have responsibility to be very good stewards, as you can imagine, of these dollars. And with that comes reporting requirements as well. And so I told you we would get here. We're going to go over, I'm going to go over some of these allowable expenses. Again, there's an allowable expense guide that's there on the information website, again, that you can dig into, pull it down, and really take a deep dive into really the meat of what all that these different categories encompass, but I will, at a very high level, just give a little more insight as to what these specific buckets are referring to. So this first piece, sponsoring dependent care and assistance plans, so these would be very similar to your flex spending accounts, like that are used for healthcare. Employers and employees can distribute these to accounts, setting aside up to $5,000 annually in pre-tax household income. So that's just, again, that's one way that this could be done. Also, another allowable grant expense is providing on-site or near-site childcare. So again, you may be a business entity that is interested in providing childcare right there on site, or someplace very close to where your business operates. That is another opportunity as well. And then establishing a priority wait list partnerships. So again, this is where you heard me call in earlier around how childcare providers are not able to apply for this opportunity, but they are able to still benefit. And this is one of those example of one of those ways. So as a business, you could leverage these dollars to partner with a local childcare provider in your area, or multiple local childcare providers in your area, who are able to set aside a wait list for your employees. And this, I would envision, this would really come into play, specifically places where childcare is not necessarily a desert, or it could be a desert, but there are which, when I say childcare deserts, I mean, again, places where there are little or no high quality childcare in those areas, just to be clear, where you as an employer have the ability to work with that childcare provider to say, I want X amount of seats on your roster, so that when I have an employee that needs care, I'm able to then leverage the opportunity to help my employee find childcare quicker than normal, and placement services for the employee. So again, building that bridge of engagement so that when employees first start, they already have knowledge that you have a partnership with a local childcare, high quality, a local childcare provider who is able to support their needs. Offering tuition benefits. So thinking through how a childcare tuition benefit could possibly run is as an opportunity where there could be a scaled model where you as the employer share this cost with the employee, and offer a benefit, either a childcare tuition discounts offered for families who are enrolled in high quality childcare licensing settings, while still providing families with a broad range of choices to decide how they want to leverage those. So it would be more, the onus would be that this one would be more I would say the purchasing power, and this one would be more leaned into the actual employee to take that benefit to their respective good standing, high quality licensed provider. And then also thinking about, again, reserving seats. This one is somewhat similar to the wait list, but it is a tad different. So employers may partner with local providers to reserve seats for exclusive access. So like the wait list is more of ensuring that there's a possibility. This is more of I want to reserve these seats, and I want to be able to say that any given day I can have one of my employees leverage one of those seats at any given time. And so that would require that childcare provider to be funded as if a child was always present, because we also don't want childcare providers to lose money in this initiative. And so that would be something that you would need to consider as a business as how you want to implement that. And a consideration might even be figuring out how many staff you have that would even benefit from something like this. Because that would be the driver in your engagement with childcare providers that you would be interested in partnering with for this piece. Another opportunity is providing backup care options. So this might be something good too, as we think about someone who may have a child that attends school during the day, but they also need backup care during holidays, school closings, all the opportunities where their child who is normally at school during the school day wouldn't be able to be at school and would need care, which could prevent your employee from coming to work. So the goal here is to provide backup care, help your employees with being able to fund and the ability to be able to fund the payment for a high quality childcare provider to be able to care for their child on those days. And I do want to be very clear and call in that out of all these offerings, that again, you may only choose one of the following. So you cannot mix multiple allowable expensive. You have to choose one. I want to make sure I call that in as well. And then the community infrastructure investments, just really as we think about, and I kind of teed this up a little bit earlier, as I mentioned, the possibilities of a coalition or a city or other entities who might want to apply on behalf of businesses within their region, within their community, to be able to help provide childcare support. And then last but certainly not least, as we think about the Tri-Share Facilitator. So in that previous instance, it would possibly be where a community infrastructure would apply for funding and distribute it accordingly to their respective businesses that they put under that application, as where the Tri-Share model is more of the entity being more of a spoke in the wheel, if you will. So they would be applying and being shared equally among the employer, the employee, and a local community coordination. So again, the other one is more so of that entity getting the funds and distributing them equally amongst who needs that. And then the Tri-Share is more of a piece where it's not only including these funds, but it's also including the employer's funds and also funding from the employee and or a local community investment as well. So again, there's many and multiple ways to get where you want to go and get your agency, your business's needs met. Again, I would encourage you to go to our information website and get more information and open up that allowable expense guide and see more details about what these opportunities look like. But really just wanted to, at a very high level, give a little more explanation around what we envision seeing applications speaking to as it pertains to these allowable expenses. So I will now pass it over to my colleague, Kim Hodge, who will share more about the initiative with you.
Thank you, Courtney, and good morning. Kim Hodge, Innovation and Collaboration Manager with the office, and just excited about everyone's engagement and interest in this opportunity. So to talk a little bit more about the application process, first in terms of the grant award amounts, these are capped based on the employer size. So you'll see in the chart, based on the ranges of the number of total Indiana employees represented by an applicant, these are the award caps, so the amounts that you can apply up to. Your application does not have to go up to that amount, but you are capped at the award cap based on the number of employees. In terms of how to apply, you want to visit the Employer-Sponsored Child Care Fund webpage and select the Apply Now button. It's on the main page there. Once you click on Apply Now, it'll take you over, and you do have to sign in through the Access Indiana portal. So if you don't have an Access Indiana account, you'll just want to follow the steps where it says don't have an Access Indiana account, and then you'll work through a series of pages to be able to set your account up, and then you'll be able to log in and actually see the employer-sponsored application. We encourage you to reference the application guide, which is another asset out on the fund website. It provides an overview of the application and some additional supports as you think through working through the different pages and questions that the application entails. The portal will allow you to start the application and come back and save your changes. So feel free to check it out. And then once you have all the information to apply, you can always revisit the portal, enter the information, and then make your submission. Applications will be accepted through November the 22nd, at the end of that day, 11:59 p.m. In terms of the application tracks, once you get into the application portal, you'll see two different application tracks to choose from, all based off of the eligibility criteria that Courtney covered early on. The single employer application is for a single business or corporation that employs 20 or more Indiana-based employees. So if it's just a single application or a single employer making the application, you'll want to select that track. And then the group application would be either for a group of employers that are going together to make up 20 or more Indiana-based employees, or this would be the application track for our 501c3 or 501c6 community-based nonprofit organizations who are submitting on behalf of a group of local employers that collectively make up more than 20 Indiana-based employees. A big note at the bottom of this page that Courtney covered earlier: employers and nonprofit organizations may only apply once, and even if not the lead applicant, cannot be represented across multiple applications. So we recommend that community-based organizations applying ensures that you have secured employer partners when applying, as this indicates that employers are committed to the project and reduces risk of when grant funds are administered. A few FAQs that we've been receiving is on your page. They're also from the fund website. A popular one that we see in the chat is, are child care providers eligible to apply for this opportunity? And as Courtney mentioned, this opportunity is not eligible to child care providers. However, we do hope and intend that providers benefit indirectly from the different investments that employers and community-based organizations are making through the application. A second question here: are school corporations eligible to apply for this opportunity? And yes, Indiana-based school corporations are eligible to make an application. The third one: how do I locate information on child care providers in the community? And we'll talk a little bit about this as we go through the presentation. But you can search for child care providers in your community via our Indiana Child Care Finder, or by contacting your local child care resource and referral or CCR&R agency that serves the county and the region that your employment is located within. And then the fourth one: how will applications be reviewed and scored? Applications were reviewed based on the criteria within the application, but not limited to how they prioritize support for vulnerable family populations, indicate local partnership and engagement, and offer a plan for sustainability, which is part of the application. We're working on several additional FAQs, and we hope to have these posted at the fund website later this week. So stay tuned for a lot of the new questions that are coming in. We will have responses to those here soon. In terms of the timeline for award decisions, as noted earlier, the application portal will accept applications through November 22nd at 11:59 p.m., so the end of the day on that Wednesday. Applications will be reviewed directly following, and award decisions are expected to be announced via email later this winter. And as noted earlier, applicants have to spend the funds within 12 months after receiving their award. So it is a pretty quick turnaround time for implementation of those plans. Reporting will be a key component for anybody that is awarded. In receiving the funds, awardees agree to complete required reporting to show how funds were spent. Federal regulations require all recipients of federal funds to keep financial documents for 5 years. Expenditure records and supporting documentation related to how the funds was spent include, but are not limited to, mortgage, rent, space cost statements, utility statements, payroll and benefit records, original invoices and receipts, and then documentation of benefits that were provided to staff, such as insurance costs or tuition reimbursement. Unless audited, awardees are not required to submit proof of how the funds were spent. Awarded applicants are required to document spending and be prepared to show those records should OECOSL request them by audit. In terms of a few of the different supports that we have available, as mentioned earlier, our local child care resource and referral agencies, or CCR&Rs, are our local support for local businesses. You can reach out to them. They can help you understand the local supply in your area of child care providers that you may be partnering with for your proposal. And they can also assist you in making referrals to those providers. CCR&Rs can also support you in surveying your employees on their needs and offer options that meet those needs. And so if you have never thought about surveying your employees, they can connect with you and partner with you about what types of questions should you may want to ask to better learn about the needs and how to best respond to those needs, and ultimately, hopefully, make an application for the employer-sponsored fund. CCR&Rs can also collaborate with you ongoing to provide any consumer education and referrals to your employees. So they're a great resource to have in your plans as you think about how you respond to your employees' childcare needs, as they're a great resource in every Indiana community. We have a link that we'll put in the chat, and that can be used to locate your childcare resource and referral agency. So if you're unknown what agency serves your area, you can search by county and be connected with your local agency. In terms of data available, we have several different sources of data that you may find of interest as you're thinking about really understanding the need of your workforce and how to respond in the application. The Brighter Futures website has a data center that offers a great deal of data related to population, economics, and supply and demand. The Indiana Youth Institute has their Kids Count data book that offers data across several different factors, including economic well-being, education, health, and family and community. And then, as mentioned earlier, the Child Care Finder site will help you locate childcare throughout Indiana. So you can look at what childcare is available and where those are located within your community by looking through Child Care Finder. So to learn more, as Courtney mentioned, we have a great deal of information on the fund webpage. So we invite you to check that out. We'll be adding some more support resources, additional FAQs later this week. We highly recommend that you check out the application guide, as it breaks down the whole application process and gives you some helpful information as you're thinking about making that application. And then also mentioned earlier, the allowable expense guide is a key asset that breaks down those 8 allowable expense categories and what expenses within each of those would be allowable to add into your application. We also are excited about 2 upcoming webinars. So we have an additional webinar this Friday, November the 3rd at 1:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That will really dive into those 8 support categories. And then we also will have a 3rd and final webinar next week, which is Thursday, November the 9th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll dive into a lot of the support resources and also hear from different Indiana businesses that have had success in implementing some of the support categories that are eligible for application. For any questions following today's webinar, we invite you to send those to OECOSL director@fssa.ein.gov. And like mentioned earlier, your local child care resource and referral is a great local resource to help you understand your child care employees' workforce needs, and also think about how they can partner with you long-term in supporting your workforce.
Okay, I think we did it with a few minutes to spare. Thank you all for taking time to join us today. Thank you, Courtney and Cam, for presenting. And we hope to see an influx of applications come through that we're excited to review. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.